I just finished filming and realized I forgot to introduce myself. So, hi, I'm Sophia, it's nice to meet you, and don't be alarmed, I'm about to look a little different. So, I apologize for the wardrobe change, but here she is. Before going into my antics and the questions that you've posed for me, I'm gonna give you some information you did not ask for. I feel like a fraud making this YouTube video and not saying anything, but I woke up with this monster pimple, so there's that. You don't care, but there's that. So I'm wearing this shiny shirt and earrings, and also quarantining in my room away from my family for a week because I woke up with sniffles today. COVID symptoms are all over the map, so we're not taking any chance. My family's really high risk, so you might be seeing more of me, my sniffles, my eye bags this week. We're gonna make some clothing out of things that you should not make clothing out of. This process is similar to making chainmail, but way faster. I have a 14 gauge wire again, and I just eyeball how much I want to work with at one time. And then I'll take the wire and straighten it out across my knee. Ooh, my coffee cup. This is not essential, but it's slightly easier to spin around the dowel, which is the next step. So here's the dowel I'm using today. It's 3/4 of an inch, so it's bigger than what I'm used to using. This is more frustrating to use in the smaller sizes unless you have a bigger drill. My drill isn't large enough to fit this naturally, so I actually had to cut this down. This size is hard to control unless it fits, so you have to be careful. I recently acquired these gloves because I'm an idiot and I cut my hand last week, and it scared the crap out of my mom, understandably. One more thing about the dowel. Take a smaller drill, put a hole through it where you can feed the wire. Tension builds up, so you have to be really careful when you get to this point. Grab lower rings of wire and slowly release that tension off the end. You have a spring like this. Cutting your rings is a really easy part, so you literally just take the point that you left to cut it right along that line to make a circle. So as usual, I have a scroll of your questions. I'm gonna put them here and we'll start. Okay. Where I get my materials. I get tools like this at Lowe's. My wire is from Ace Hardware. I originally went in looking for electric fence wire because I heard that was good. I stumbled across this steel 14 gauge wire, so that's what I've been using. The chain is usually from Craft Store. The tough part is materials are so inconsistent right now. It's not the end of the world, but it's really frustrating when you're trying to make something consistently. Like I made these Cuban like chain rings, I'll put a picture here, and they were really fun, but I haven't been able to find that material again. It hasn't been restocked. But generally speaking, it's not that expensive, so I think this was probably 15 bucks. I talked about it in another video. I don't remember how much I said it was. I really don't remember. Chain from craft stores can be expensive, but just use your coupons, do your research, see what you can find. The wire is not very expensive, probably $10-ish. It's not the money that's the problem. It's the time it takes to make stuff, because it can be really tedious. Okay, I'm gonna follow that with a short question. How old am I? I'm recently, as of a couple days ago, 22, which is crazy. I feel very decrepit. Tips for beginners. I still consider myself one. Kind of a hypocrite in telling you this, and it's really cliche, but from my experience, the biggest thing that stops my creativity is fear. Learning new things pretty much inherently requires failure to some degree, but it's so hard to start from scratch at something when you already know what you're good at and leave that behind just for a second to try something else. So I think once you get past that and just let yourself try things and fail, that's when you start to open up new doors for yourself. Alright, other things I'm interested in / what I study. I just graduated and I double majored in studio art, which is making it, and art history, which is researching it. I fell in love with art history at the beginning of college. Such an amazing, all-encompassing subject. It's cultural, it's political, art can be used as a tool to drive forces, also to respond to forces. It's this very visual accumulation of history. I pretty much only would draw and occasionally paint and stuff like that, so I was very two-dimensional when it came to creating stuff. And I never really considered this as part of my practice or anything, I just made them. This is bleeding into the how you started question, which I just kind of fell into this. I've been making stuff like this for myself for years, but never thought anyone else would want this because, again, like, Sophia, you're this unhinged girl wearing metal all the time. Why are we doing that? But it's nice that other people like it. Another question, which is my study abroad experience. What it was like, what I did. I studied in Berlin. I traveled 1 month beforehand through Europe with a friend. And then after my 4 months in Berlin, I traveled 2 months by myself. I know everyone does not have the opportunity to study abroad, and I was really lucky to do it. People say study abroad changes you, and it's usually in a very dumb context, but it is true to some degree. It was a great learning opportunity. I am very cheap. I spent $1,000 a month on everything that I had saved up from cleaning up, selling clothing and stuff like that throughout college. So I paid for it all myself. I had the opportunity to visit, I think, 15 countries in all, and carefully manage my money, so not miss out on very important opportunities that do cost a little bit, but also know how to save in opportunities that I could do something a little bit more difficult. But I learned a lot about how to watch out for myself. I'm very used to being around a group of friends or family or whatever that can keep me safe. When I was traveling alone, I would step off the plane, look around me, see what time of day it is. If it's night, are there women walking alone? If I went to a bar, you would check how far it is from your hostel, how much are you gonna drink, because no one's gonna watch out for you. Where is your drink? Make sure no one puts anything in it. I don't want to scare anyone because I've made so many close friends there. If COVID doesn't hit too hard in January, I actually got another program, so I'll be back in Germany from January till July. I have friends in Switzerland, France, Sweden, Germany. A recent 22-year-old, I didn't imagine I'd have that opportunity for years because I work hard and save up and get some structure in my life. But back to the fear thing, I'm a control freak, and to put myself in a position that I can grow for another 7 months and be supported, I think can really benefit me long term. So fingers crossed I still get to go. Someone asked about my first piece. The first piece that I made myself was probably a very simple body chain. But the way that I really started, I had this pile of necklaces from like middle school and stuff like that that I wasn't wearing anymore and I wasn't sure what to do with. So I would lengthen them, shorten them, I would make them into new things. It was just about recycling chain, and I still do that a lot with broken vintage pieces. Collect old broken necklaces and try to bring them back to life as much as I can. Okay, I have a ton of these cut up, so we're gonna move on to the chain portion. So with this current pattern that I already started, 4 chain links, I'll literally just measure it out and then cut these links to the size and create a pile of those. Okay, I just filmed my intro. I switched into something more comfortable and that I can measure my body in. And we're gonna move on to part 2. These guys are the pliers that I use the most frequently. Then I basically just begin the process of linking the chain on the jump rings. The edges of the piece will take three chains, and just the regular sections will take 4. The first ring will look something like this. Start connecting them in a row. So I'm gonna add 2 more on this guy. So I'm digging into my second roll, which means I've already gone through 15 feet of chain. And for all those wondering in the last video, I have clasps down the side of the skirt. So that's how I get it on and off. My game plan is similar for the top, but instead I'm gonna have a clasp at the base of my top. I also decided to make it a set instead of a dress because I think it'll fit better and it'll be cooler, have more movement. Oh my goodness, it's already dark. Okay. So this top took probably around 20 feet of chain, 20-ish feet of wire. Fingers crossed I'll have somewhere to wear this soon. If not, Trader Joe's employees will be in for a scare. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.